started here building our room. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for our next episode in our career chat series. My name is Kyla Cook. My pronouns are she and her, and I work in our learning center here at the Field Museum. And I am so excited today to be talking with my remarkable colleague, Juliana, and she is going to introduce herself, and then we're going to talk about her career. So go ahead, Juliana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Juliana Philipp, but everybody knows as Juliana do Brasil. My pronouns are she and her. I am the Field Guides Initiative Senior Coordinator at the Field Museum, and I have been at the Field Museum for 15 years on this time. Can I keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. So Juliana, do you want to start by kind of telling everyone in the audience a little bit about yourself? Because I know you've been at the Field for a long time and you've held a lot of different roles there that we're going to get into. But before we talk about that, maybe you can share just a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so I would like to tell you guys where I came from, which kind of you can guess by my name. So I am actually from Brazil. And I'm from a little town in the Brazilian Amazon. And Kyla is going to put a little map for you guys so you can see. So I actually was born in Manaus, is a big city in the Brazilian Amazon, but I moved from Manaus to Santarém, and I stayed there until I moved to Chicago. So I moved from this little town where you can see the star right there is where I grew up. Is my beautiful, amazing Santarém, Pará. And then the next slide, you can see how tiny it is if you're going to think about Chicago, rise, buildings, and beautiful sky. So you do also have a beautiful front line as we have in Chicago, but this is not a lake, this is a river. It's called Tapajós River. So in the next slide, you can see how beautiful my city is. So that's a bird view of my city. And I really love this photo because it shows what I love the most about the place is the city one side and this river. You see the darker river is Tapajós, and in the other side is the Amazon, and they don't mix because they have different composition things. So that's how the two rivers goes. If you keep going up in this river and on the Tapajós River, the Blue River, and go to your left in a boat, you're going to end up to this place. Next slide is going to show to you. It's called Terra do Chão. So this is one of my happy places. Like always when I'm dreaming about Brazil, or I need to go somewhere, have place inside of myself, that's where I end up. This place is called Terra do Chão, and is one of the places I grew up. So I moved all the way from this paradise in the Brazilian Amazon all the way to Chicago 17 years ago. And then that's when I started working at the Field Museum.
Wow, that's quite a change. And I'm sure winter was no fun. It's still no fun for me, and I've been here a few years, but I'm sure that must have been quite a transition, especially your first year in Chicago.
Yeah, that was a huge transition because I arrived in January.
Oh no.
So wow. I have never seen so much cold. I could not even believe someone could live in such temperatures like that one. Yeah, it was a challenge.
Wow. So you've come a long way to be here at the Field, and you've been here a really long time, but I know you weren't always working with the Field Guides project in the role that you have today. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what your pathway at the Field looked like, what different roles you've had, and how you landed where you are right now.
So the way I started the Field Museum was volunteering. I started volunteering at the Field Museum, and guess what? I could not speak English when I moved here. I knew one word, which code, which was the easy one to learn, like code, how are you? So I didn't know much of English. I came here with Portuguese and no Spanish. So what I did first at the Field Museum, I started working with my husband, who's a collection manager at the Field Museum in anthropology. So I started working with him because he was the only one who I could talk to because he does speak Portuguese. And then I was thinking, I need to learn another language. I have to communicate with more people. So I decided to go for Spanish. It was easy for me, like go and trying to learn Spanish. And that's what I did. And then I could move from working with only one person to more curators at the film museum who does speak did speak Spanish. And then it was a love at the first sight. I went to the museum and I couldn't believe it how amazing this place was. I couldn't believe how many collections of so many countries that was available there. That was all the things I was reading on my school books about, right? And then we have all these collections. So that's how I started. I volunteered for 2 years in anthropology collection, and then I transitioned to action. Um, there's one photo there that I want to show to people. Like when I started, this was like 1,000 years ago. It was in the beginning of all.
Was it this one?
That is my first ever photo I took inside the film museum. That was the first one taken in the film museum. And I was like, as you can see, I was so happy because this is a Peruvian collection. I always want to know more about this collection from Peru. And then I was inside this wonderful place with this wonderful collection. It was blew my mind. I was like, I have to work here. I really need to work in this place. And that's how I started as a volunteer.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's funny to think coming all the way to Chicago and then having access to this amazing collection that you were interested in your work as an anthropologist. The field has so much. That's amazing. You found this collection that you could, work on and that you're really excited about. I love this photo. And sounds like also you mentioned, you came to the field and started working here as a volunteer and you didn't speak English and then or Spanish, and you must have had to learn so much so quickly in that environment and be so brave to like even try that. I feel like not everyone would even put their foot forward in that situation, but that's really incredible.
I had this passion about learning, right? I was like, it's not only our work with people who are so interesting. They come from so many different backgrounds, but also these collections. In every single part you see in this photo has a story to tell, and that's what brought me in and kept me going because it was not easy. I had no, I left behind family, friends, even pets. I left behind my culture, food. So every day was an intense labor of learning, intense labor of trying to grasp this culture, trying to understand myself and the changes. But what kept me going was because people was really nice for me. They're really kind and open to share and to learn and to teach me something new, right? I didn't know how to use a computer. I didn't know how to use a database. And all the time when someone asking me, can you do this? I would go and say, no, yet. I don't know yet. But giving me 2 days, giving me 2 weeks, and I will do it. So it's this process of learning how to take a photo, how to use a computer, how to go to a database, how to communicate with someone. I'm like, give me some time. I never said I can't do it. I always would say, I cannot do it now, right now, but give me time. And I would go home and it would be like all night long, like learn about something, like learn about image, learn about database. So that was my process of, I was really eager to try something new. And the film museum was my house. I would spend 8 to 10 hours a day there because I didn't have nothing to do. I was learning language. I was learning everything. So the film museum was and still one of my, I consider like my second home. I'm comfortable at the museum. I know every day I go there, there'll be something new for me to learn, even after 15 years.
Wow, that's remarkable. That's incredible. And also I love that attitude of, you don't have to know everything about something to try it, but you can learn it. And just always being open to learning new things sounds like it opened up this whole world and this whole career at the field by like learning all these new skills and trying all these new, techniques. And I'm sure you gained so much from trying all those things. And then I'm curious if you can tell us a little more about maybe how all those skills and experiences and opportunities to learn new things have kind of rolled into what you're doing at the field right now, what your career currently is.
Well, that's a really good question, because I was really interesting to me, as I was thinking about it, right? So the first thing I thought was the museum was, I want people to know me by my name, Juliana, not like the wife of a collection manager, Philipp, because that was how I was started. I was like, I want people to know Juliana and what I'm capable of. It's really hard if you cannot communicate. But guess what? Back in Brazil, I was a communicator. I work as a live broadcaster. I was doing protests, and I was doing so many things, community engagement, all the stuff that I brought here. And then the only thing I had was the experience about how to communicate. So I did everything was possible to communicate. I was drawing, I was doing signs with my hands. I was trying to use the few words I had. And then I think what I always tell people when I talk to them, like, what's the most important thing for you? The most important thing for me are friends, because when you go to a place you don't know anything and you want to learn, if you respect people and you ask for help, they will help you. So you have to do that. So I didn't know about database, I asked someone. I didn't know about Photoshop, I asked someone. So I was always let's see what you can, how someone can help me, because I'm willing to ask, right? So that's how I transitioned to Action Center, to the Color Science Action Center, because someone there met me in an event and we were like friends, and she knew it, I could do the job. She like say, okay, she can do this job. She speaks Portuguese. We need someone who speaks Portuguese to translate our webpage. She knows about photo and digital image. Let's bring her in. And that's how I left anthropology, and then I started working in a science section, which is now then I have been there for 10 years now.
Wow, that's quite a transition to go from, studying anthropology to now working in the Action Center, where you're building these like incredible field guides. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a moment, but I think that's just such a powerful lesson to never be afraid to ask for help or for clarification. And, I know sometimes it can feel really scary to ask for help, or you might be afraid people think you aren't smart because you're asking for help, but actually it means you're really smart because you know what you know and you know what you don't know yet. So you're just bridging that gap to kind of be able to grow in your understanding and your experiences. So I think that's such an important takeaway, and I'm so glad you're sharing that with our audience here.
Yeah, knowledge, right? People give us knowledge, so you should not be close to the possibility of learning something from someone, right? It's not like it's not like you're going to know everything in life. You're going to learn in the process, right? Like, it's really a slow process of gathering knowledge and be able to use it. And then the other thing I feel like is not be afraid of trying, because I could say, no, I'm really comfortable in anthropology. I know everybody. I have been working here for 5 years. I don't want to try something new, but I was like, yes, let's do it. Let's try. Maybe I fail, but I will try. And I always learn something from whatever experience I try, right?
Yeah. And it sounds like you've learned a lot. And you're doing something is so cool, which is building these field guides and working towards, creating these amazing guides that are used all over the world. But for everyone who's watching, can you explain a little bit more what a field guide is and how it's used and how you create them?
Okay, I'll show to you what's the field guide. I have one right here, and I also have some images to show to you guys. This is a field guide. So what is a field guide? Field guide is this free resource that has scientific information and beautiful scientific curated images. What is the idea about the guides? The field guides were created with this hope that people engage with nature. People protect, people identify, people know more about, and people help on the conservation of natural resources. So that's the idea behind the field guides, is that the more you know about something, the more it's easy for you to understand why you have to do all these conservation efforts, and keep it. So that's why the field guides was created. The other reason is because it's really lightweight, as you can see. It's different for a book, anything. And in the beginning of the project, people were like loving these field guides because you can take to the field and you can do identification. You can go to a natural park with a field guide. So this one, for example, is this Chicago bird guide. It was done by my friend Josh Engel, such a wonderful talent bird guide. He himself takes people around Chicago, Africa, and other places. So that's the idea of the field guides, is to deliver just free, it's free for download, just free, easy visual knowledge about nature, so that we can connect and learn more from our natural resources.
That's
I think
amazing.
I have a slide over there that I like to show to people, because we do have field guides for Chicago. We work with field guides creators from 40 different countries. We have 2,100 field guides available online, and they are of everything you can possibly imagine. We have seeds, we have medicinal plants, which are my favorite ones. We have frogs, we have snakes, which I love. We have flowering plants, we have fruits, we have every single thing you can imagine. And if you don't have, we're going to get some. We're going to find someone who wants to work with us. So what is my job? My job is I don't do science myself. What I do, I communicate science. I am here as a bridge between all the scientists around the globe who wants to uh, deliver their research, their fieldwork in such a visual, easy uh, platform as the field guides. So that's my job. I help them create these guides. Then we publish on our webpage. So the next slide, you will see that we have for Chicago
Oh, wow.
too. Like any of you guys who are watching us right now can just go to our webpage and go for Chicago region, and then you download all our guides from Chicago. And the next time you go to a natural area, natural park, anywhere, you go ahead and grab your guide. Matter of fact, the spider guide, these three guides are our most downloaded guides from Chicago. So people love it. And you know, right? Spiders, they live in our basements, people. They love us, right? And they're right there, help us to control insects. So that's available online. You can go there and check out if you want. The next slide, I'm actually would like to show the next slide, because and then you can pass really quickly, Kyla, because I just want people to see that our guides have been used in different places, different countries, and by different generations. It's a visual product. You can stop right there. It's a visual product. And then why? Because it's so easy. They can be used by my son, who is 7 years old, to grandma, who's 80. The guides speak by themselves. It's just a really nice and easy way of learning about nature. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I love these photos all around the world of these guides being used. And I am definitely going to be looking at this spiders guide a little more closely, because actually just last night I found a spider in the house and then it disappeared. So I'm hoping I find it again soon, but I didn't even know there were this many spiders that maybe I could find locally. So now I'm curious to know A, where it is, but B, what it is. That's so cool.
Yeah, so another part of my job, if I can tell, is the next slide, is so how do you do this work, and how do you can go to the other, this one. This is just to illustrate to you guys my job. So I have to travel someplace and then talk about the guides. I attend conferences for biologists, and I talk to them about the guides. I talk to them and I engage with them to say, hey, go work with us. Do you have anything? Do you have images? Do you have scientific notifications? The guides don't only have scientific notifications, you also have local names. So people can go look for the guides. Not every single guide has a local names, but you try the best to encourage scientists to give us both, right, the scientific and the local names. And then I do train too. I go to Brazil, Guyana, Colombia, and then I do train graduate students, biologists who are starting their career, like how to make a field guide. And that's really a part of my job I like. I like to be in contact with people because every single scientist works with a different kind of a plant or animal. And that's the process I learned. Because remember, I came from anthropology to the natural world. And I have to learn a lot about plants and animals in order to communicate with them, in order to do this job.
Wow. So that sounds like really, you're kind of, like you said before, that bridge between the scientists who are doing this really technical, research, studying these really specific types of organisms, but then, the average person like myself, that doesn't give a lot of meaning to me, but putting it in this kind of visual way and including the common name, if there is a common name, really effectively translates what all the different species are that might be in your area. That's remarkable. So you've been to a lot of different places, it sounds like, doing this work. Do you have a new place kind of coming up that you're looking forward to visiting to, maybe or traveling to when we can again?
Yes, I'm looking forward to keep training. Like the next slide is just 2 slides of showing this is at the museum. When I do communication too, you do communicate to the museum folks how you do the work here in Chicago. But then the next slide show you how my precious people who I work with. So I am looking forward to expand the field guides to the other side of the ocean, which means we're trying to expand in Southeast Asia, Pacific. So this is in Guyana. When I did the training in Guyana, the other one was in Brazil. It was my hometown. It was the first time I did the training in my hometown. So I gave back to my community, and
Wow.
I'm super proud of this. And so the next step, I want to be able to go to the other side of the ocean and give more training and kind of expand globally the field guides webpage.
That's awesome. Wow. I mean, you probably will never stop, right? There's no end to the places, then the different types of biodiversity in like all the places around the world. That's incredible. It looks like we had a question come in from a viewer, which is, what is the favorite field guide you've ever worked on?
Okay, so go to the next slide because I was ready for this one. So the one with the biocultural guide, so I can.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so more than my favorite field guide, which is hard. Think about it. Every single guide, every single one of this is a group of people I work with, is a story behind, and I have so beautiful, amazing stories. The teachers have to invite me again just to tell stories about field guides. So what I'll tell is a type of guide. The type of guide is my favorite, it's biocultural field guides. What is the biocultural field guides? It's the kind of field guides that combine traditional knowledge and scientific knowledge. As someone from the Brazilian Amazon, I do love my traditional knowledge. I use plants in my life all different ways. Like in this little basket here, you find all my medicinal plants I use every day. So I have all this connection with the knowledge of plants that comes from community, that comes from indigenous people. So my favorite guide is the type of guide that combine these two, because it's really hard, right, to have scientists and community work together because demands time. It really takes time for curate and create a field guide with all this knowledge. What you see right there is a guide from my state, Pará state. I'm really proud of this guide. I love fish. Think about someone who loves fish. I love eating fish. I love talk about fish. I love fish. It's part of where I grew up. I don't know how to drive a car, but I know how to drive a canoe. I always tell people. So that's my favorite kind of guide, there where we can keep on the legacy of indigenous people throughout such a easy visual resource as the field guides. And I hope for the next step of our programs to do more of this type of field guides.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing kind of next direction to go and to continue pushing in, is working directly with different communities to build these guides. That's really remarkable. Awesome. Let's see. I want to make sure we're capturing any other questions that we're getting from our audience. So I see that we do have another question, which was, how do you use writing in your daily work? Is writing an important skill that you use to build these field guides, or maybe there's another way that you use writing that's really integral to what you do?
Oh yeah, I love writing. When I was a middle schooler, which was a long time ago, I used writing for, like when you are stressful or something's going on at home and you don't have control, right? At this point of life, you don't have much control about our emotions or what is going on around us. And I use writing for writing poetry, which was really bad, by the way, but it was not the point. The point was use the paper and putting words to your feelings that nobody's going to read about it, but help me going through processing these emotions, right? And end up to help me because I was always looking for a better word or sentence to my text, to my writings. That way we start right there, just really using it. And then now, um, I use writing for social media because I'm also the social media promoter of the field guide. So I use the writing in all my social media things, and I get all the aspects together. Right? I totally go for serious guy. Everything you do in your life, you're going to need writing. And the best thing for you to do is not say I hate writing, because we have the tendency to try to reject something you are not quite good at, and it takes forever to be good at, right? But think about me, like I have to do the promotion in 3 languages. I do Portuguese, Spanish, and English. And I always say I'm not good in any of these 3, but I give my 100% to make sure I can do this, right? So writing and reading are 2 things that you're going to need forever. And I say go for, take any classes possible, and learn from this experience with your teachers, because you're going to need it. You're never going to escape from that. And it's a good way to express yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great point. And I love that nod to, like, even just writing for yourself outside of kind of how it directly is for your career can be a great way to process and build that skill in a kind of private way too. Man, it looks like we are just at time. We might have time for either, one last question, or if there is something that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet that you would like to share with our audience. I think we have time for just one more thing, if there's anything we missed.
Okay, so I do want to talk about the dragon.
All right.
So usually when I give a talk or something, people always ask me what's my favorite plant is one thing, and what's my favorite animal. And for my favorite plant, I like cactus. Cactus because they are this we can compare ourselves with cactus. And my mother's favorite plant is cactus, and then pass on to me. Why? Because she always say we are cactus. Remember, that is really a rash environment. That's really hard to live as a cactus that is dry, that's hot. So that's life. Sometimes things are tough. Sometimes things are really hard, like where in all the environments where the cactus live. But guess what? Inside the cactus are water. There's water. The cactus, they bloom. There's flowers, right? It's not only the spines, which means like even though in the most hardest uh, time of life, we have to remember that inside of us there is life, right? Inside of us there's water. Inside of us there is a way for us to keep going and flowing and blooming. That's one thing. But I also like to tell people about the dragon. That's what I was taking in Indonesia. That was my first trip to Indonesia. I went there to talk about field guides. I learned the language just a little bit so I would not get lost too much, because I got lost. And I took this photo to remind me that we have to face our dragons. You cannot escape from them. You cannot deny they exist, right? So every day in life, there will be a dragon for us to face. And that's so important for me because throughout my life in Chicago, that was what happens. There was always a dragon. There was always a dragon. And if you escape from the first, does not mean that thousands of more is coming. So what you have to do is keeping face the dragons. So that's the Komodo dragon from the Komodo Island, Indonesia. They say that if this one bites you, you die in 48 hours. And even though I really want to see this dragon, and just a photo to tell you all, let's face our dragons as hard as you think they are. And you don't face them alone. You don't, to see this dragon, which was my dream, to see this dragon, I have to fly to Malaysia for 17 hours. And I'm so afraid of flying. I'm so afraid of flying. But what is the thing? Are you going to deny we're afraid? Are you going to deny all the dragons? No. The idea is, I know that I'm afraid, and what can I do to face it? What can I do to, go for it and still going to see my dreams come true? So that's the message on leave to everybody.
Wow, that's an amazing place to end. I'm so glad we had that time for that one more thought, because that is such great advice, life experience, and just even philosophy to share with students today. And I think that it's been really incredible to hear how that's played out in your life and in your career through our too short conversation today. But thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks everyone who joined to watch. And hopefully we'll see you again next time for our next career chat. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.